And I'm going to say it with love. A lot of us as entrepreneurs, we have a really hard time selling our products. Like, oh, it feels cringy. I don't want to be salesy. I don't know, is this the right price? Like, it's just not natural, right? When you find the right thing, when you know your audience so well, you care about them so much, and you know your offer, like, is that thing that's going to help them move towards the vision. You can't help but, like verbal diarrhea. You can't help but just constantly talk about it. When you feel good about the price, you feel good about the solution, you feel good about your people, and you feel good about the role you're playing in all of that. You just can't help but put on your boots and start talking about it.
All right. Let's stop talking about random
Liz
stuff.
Wilcox.
Get into it.
It's good to see you, and it's great to have you back.
Oh my gosh, I feel so honored. Thank you for having me. Like I said, I'll try not to yell.
Given the furious pace at which I know you to work, I can only imagine the sheer volume of things you've created since we got to talk to you the last time.
Yeah, I think our last episode had to have been 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. You guys are content kings, churning it out. Like, can we just like stop and leave a 5-star review for these guys? Because have you done anything consistently for 2 years? Certainly, most of us haven't. So let's just give them a shout out right here, right now. Congratulations, guys.
Well, thank you.
Liz.
I think we do it just to prove that we can.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, you came on pretty early on, actually.
Yeah.
And wow, it's really fun. I mean, I said this on the first one, so I'll just say it again because why not? It's so fun to watch you just freaking take off because of your energy and your focus and your hard work and all that fun stuff. So there's so many different ways to kind of start this, but I just want to know, like, for you right now in this moment, what's most exciting project-wise or even not project-wise? Just like what's like floating top of mind for you?
Yeah, so I'll be a real person for a minute because I feel like, I do episodes with amazing people like you, and it seems kind of like what Miles says, or I think Bill said, like, oh, you work at such a fast pace. And actually, since I last talked to you guys, I've slowed down a lot. I've had a lot of health problems. I developed a lot of food allergies, which made me have a lot of like nutritional deficiencies. And so what's most exciting right now is I'm actually starting to ramp back up. I feel more like the Liz Wilcox that people, know and love. I suffered a concussion in June of 2022, and it's taken me, a year and a half to kind of bring the inflammation down, learn about inflammation, etc. And so honestly, the most exciting thing in life right now is my health and getting it back and feeling like, oh, Liz Wilcox didn't die. She was just really sick for a minute. And, can we say the B word on this show?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Say whatever words you
want. Isn't that that's like an AC/DC or something song? The bitch is back.
That's
that's
Elton
how
John.
I feel. Elton John. That's right.
Elton
Whoa,
John.
I was way
Close.
off.
Well, I mean, you had the right
80s,
era. You were in the right
80s,
era.
yeah.
Back in black, bitch is back.
Yeah. But anyway, that's the most exciting thing. And then project-wise, I'm still just plugging away at my membership. And I'm hoping in 2024 to get into licensing my content to large brands and companies.
Awesome.
Whoa. Cool.
A lot going on.
Welcome back,
I have to ask, do you feel like your previous pace of work contributed to health issues at all?
That's such a good question. I don't know. I feel like it could be so many things. I mean, we could have a whole episode on what Liz is learning about the gut. I feel like I always had pretty good work boundaries. I think it might have been the previous pace in which I was running my personal life. My personal
Gotcha.
life had taken up so much energy that maybe that's why it seemed like at work I was working so fast, because I just had to become really efficient and only focus on those things that mattered and kind of cut the fluff.
Yeah.
So I really believe it was probably more of over giving in my personal life than my business.
Yeah, got it.
So I'm curious because we don't have to go down this road, but I had brain fog for like 6 years and it was life altering. Couldn't freaking think.
Yeah.
I swear there was like a stroke in there at some point. Like my brain just wasn't working. And then I also I went down a rabbit hole of like the gut and the brain and just all sorts of health things. I'm just curious, like what you learned, what you're learning about yourself. What are like the few things that kind of stand out?
Yeah. What's so funny is so I fainted and got a concussion, and then, the brain fog was real. And I remember when I met Miles back in, I don't know, 2019, maybe early
Mhm.
2020, he was really doing this like brain thrive, I think you called
That's
it.
it.
Y'all, we go back, baby.
Yeah.
And I remember looking up some of your old email newsletters that you sent out about the brain and going
Oh
into the
my God.
Facebook group. And so that content actually did like help me kind of start a rabbit hole.
Cool.
But really for me, I think it was kind of this zigzag journey because I also was dealing with a lot of food allergies. So in my head, it was like, oh, I don't feel good because I'm eating something I'm allergic to. Because it wasn't just brain fog. I actually get like anaphylaxis reaction. Like I have to carry an EpiPen and all that. And so to me, I wasn't quite yet correlating the brain fog to food. I
Mhm.
just thought, oh, I just hit my head and this is how I'm living now. But it really wasn't until a year in that after hitting my head, so late summer 2023, that I said, okay, this is ridiculous. I've got to do something. And I was sitting at my work desk and I was trying to answer an email that we get all the time, an FAQ, like, Liz, what do you think about this? And it should have taken me, 2 seconds to type up, maybe a minute if I wanted to make them a video. And I just, I kept putting my hands on the keyboard to type. And then I distract myself, pick up my phone. Oh, I don't want to do this right now. Pick up my phone, do something easier. And I was sitting
Mm.
there, and if you know anything about Liz Wilcox, you know she loves Mountain Dew. I'm like a Mountain Dew addict. And I looked up from my computer screen and I just had this aha moment. The body will tell you what it needs if you listen.
Mhm.
And my body literally was screaming, Liz, you've got to cut the crap. You can't, you can't drink soda anymore, and you're eating too many grains, because I had started to eat more carbs to try to drink less soda. Like, okay, let
Yeah.
me replace a carb with an actual food and not corn syrup. And then I just got worse and worse until, it was just had that moment of you've got to cut it all. And so I never thought I'd say this. I love carbs. I'm a runner. I actually went pretty much keto, I guess.
Mhm.
And I've actually been off grains for almost 4 months. I've been off sugar completely for about a month. And I feel like like I said, the bitch is back. Like I can't, I'm still mourning Mountain Dew. Like I can taste it right now in my
Yeah.
mouth talking about it, but I don't miss it. It's like, when you're in a toxic relationship and you're like, oh, we had that one good day. But I would never go back. That's
That's
kind
all
of
you
how
remember
I'm
is the
feeling
one
right
good
now.
day.
Right. It's like, oh, what's that song? Oh, we had that breakfast at Tiffany's. We both liked that movie. I think we both kind of liked it. Remember that song? That's the one thing we got. So
Wow.
I'm not going back though. But yeah,
Good for you.
I just learned that apparently my body, whether it was the concussion or just years of abusing it with soda. Really, I just drink a lot of soda. Other than that, I've been pretty healthy my whole life. Just incredibly inflamed, and now the brain fog has lifted. But like Miles said, I felt the same, like just couldn't think straight, tired easily. I stopped talking to my friends on the phone. Just didn't even have the desire to carry on a conversation. Like didn't care to be around anyone because it was just exhausting, which led to irritation. But
Sure.
I'm back. I'm feeling great now.
That's good.
That's awesome.
That's
awesome
good.
to hear. It sounds very, very familiar too for me because it took me a long time, but I finally realized it was food and what I was doing, putting in my body, food and alcohol and all that stuff, and sugar and processed food that was essentially killing me slowly. And then once I stopped that, it was like the cleanest. Like I had 30 days, kind of like you, where I just cut everything, and I was like finally perfect. I mean, not perfect, but in my eyes, I like did everything I wanted to do, and I woke up that day just dead clear. It was incredible. And once you kind of taste that, because you can get really used to it, kind of like you said, and it's just your new reality, and you think this is how I live now, and you've kind of
Right.
lost that vitality, that energy to just live, that life force, whatever. And when it kind of comes back and hits you, and you get that taste of it again, you're kind of addicted to it, and so all your other addictions are a lot easier, not easy, but easier to put aside. So I'm happy for you. It's exciting.
Thank you. And amen.
So you're still growing your membership, yeah?
Yeah. So the amazing thing about, having the brain injury, if we can spin a positive on it, was that I realized that the business was still growing despite my brain injury, despite, not thinking straight. And I realized that not that I was a bottleneck, but that I didn't have to be doing everything, and not every task was essential or even essential to Liz, right? It was, again, summer 2022, within 3 months, I wasn't feeling any better, but the membership, had grown from, let's say, 1,000 members to 2,000 members, with me having, almost nothing to do with the business for those few months, except, doing the bare minimum, right? And I just realized, like, oh, wow, I can create systems, and I've created this, super awesome revenue model that, only needs me a little bit. Whereas before, when you take client work and things like that, it's really dependent. If I had been fully dependent on my client work, I would have been, I wouldn't be talking to you today. I would have been back in the poorhouse or whatever. I don't know what would have happened. So it also allowed me to be really grateful and to know, like, hey, I need to double down on this membership, because we always talk about, what if something happens? What are you going to do? Make sure you're saving money. You need a bookkeeper. You need a revenue model that, doesn't rely always on you. And unfortunately, but fortunately, I had to prove that to myself, that, like, oh, all those things are true. And so I was really grateful to former Liz for, laying the bricks, putting in the work, to create a membership that was truly, not only recurring, but it didn't put a lot of responsibility on Liz, because it's been a journey trying to figure out how to heal, especially with my food allergies. I can't just eat this instead of that. It's like, well, I can't eat that either, so what do I do? So I love my membership so much for so many reasons, but especially for that. Like, it really helped me define freedom. Like, we think freedom, oh, we're on the beach sipping cocktails, but like, it gave me the freedom to heal, to like even have the space to think about healing. And so, yeah, it's beginning of 2024. We're at about 4,000 members. I think 4,200 last I checked.
That's awesome.
And I'm hoping and praying and wishing and marketing to 10,000 by the end of 2024. That's my goal.
Well, I
Wow.
remember that when we talked the first time, you were in the 900s.
Ah, it's so cute.
Yeah.
So that was probably
So,
about 2 years ago. Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
because I
So I
actually
hit.
That's wild.
remember getting the email when you crossed 1,000.
Me
That's
too.
so awesome. I'm so proud of me.
What? We're proud of you too.
Thank you.
What? What do you think are the? I mean, I don't want to get into the whole thing. You probably don't either. But what do you think are the couple of systems that you created that have really allowed it to grow without you?
Yeah. Number one, well, yeah, okay, I'll go with number one, like the tactical, practical
Yeah,
answer is affiliates. So people that sell my membership for me. So for
yeah,
example, Miles and Bill, they have an affiliate link. If, hey, oh, you need help with email marketing, Liz is your girl. They send that link out to you. They get 50% of that $9 a month. And it's really contributed to the success of the membership. And it's not that I'm building, a bunch of gigantic affiliates, right? Like, just a few, they usually say a few key players, they're going to drive 80% of your revenue. I've found that I really actually like working and having affiliates that are just, oh, I'm just going to share this with my biz bestie or, my mastermind group. And those people that share that, those members that come in that way tend to stay longer than some of my bigger affiliates that, send it out to a mass list. Maybe those people stay and it's like a nice little injection for 1 or 2 months and then those people fall off. But I find the little guy, quote unquote, if that's what we want to call it, are actually great affiliates. And now I have over 1,000 affiliates. In 2022, the year that I suffered that concussion, 65% of my sales came from other people. So it wasn't even me talking about the membership. Of
right.
course, 2023, it was only like 35%. But this year, I'm really, debriefing with myself. Oh, what was different this year, and how can we get those sales back? Because we'll hit 10,000 really quickly if we can figure out what went wrong, I guess you could say, and how to win some of those affiliates back.
Well, some of the
Wow.
little guys, like you said, right? Since they don't have a big network, they may have run through their network. So then you've got to position a
Got to
different one.
find more little guys. And also, last year, honestly, I wasn't as present because I was, quite unhealthy. I was
Sure.
distracted with some other things. And I actually took 90 days off consecutively last year. I didn't work the entire summer. And so I think also, my affiliates kind of felt that,
Yeah.
not loss, but that absence. And so there wasn't, oh, well, Liz is away. Why would I promote Liz's thing? And so we
Right.
did see a dip in affiliate sales when I was gone.
That makes sense.
Interesting. I do remember that because I was like excited for you because you had the email. You had I forget, Patricia maybe? Or someone
Yeah,
that,
Patricia is my assistant. Yeah.
yeah, she was like chiming in inside of your automation and like adding some human flavor and stuff. So it was cool the way you did that. I was very impressed and excited for you. But that's interesting that you had a dip. I guess it makes sense. So you've got affiliates. That's number one.
Yeah. And then number two really is the product is just good. I mean, can you say that? It's just
Yeah, you can say
it's
that.
it's just an excellent I don't know, filler of a gap. Is that a word? Is that a phrase? It just
yeah.
fills a really big gap in the market. And it's something that I'm incredibly passionate about. The membership is about to turn 3 years old. And I don't know if I'll ever be done talking about it. I love it so much. I'm constantly, especially now that I have my energy back, I'm like tweaking it, figuring out how we can make it, better. We're launching a new site on the 3rd anniversary. It's just an offer that I know people need and I'm not afraid to talk about. And I mentioned that as being, one of the reasons why the membership has grown.
Miles and I don't always do very well with discipline, consistency, and grinding our way through the creative process.
We're also tripped up with things like overwhelm, imposter syndrome, perfectionism, and lone wolf syndrome on a weekly basis, and it's not a good feeling.
So a couple of years ago, we created The Box to solve our own problem. The Box is a container and community for creatives to stay accountable, do the work, and actually finish what they started. We help you prioritize your projects and create a box around it.
We co-work twice a week for 90 minutes and support you in bringing projects to the finish line. It's not teaching you anything new. It's giving you the structure to focus and create with what you already have.
Because amazing things happen on the other side of finished. Come try it out and see how it feels at theboxcommunity.com.
And I'm going to say it with love, a lot of us as entrepreneurs, we have a really hard time selling our products.
Yes.
I'm feeling the tightness in my stomach right now. Like, oh, it feels cringy. I don't want to be salesy. I don't know. Is this the right price? Please, sir, may I have $500 a month with a 3-month commitment? Like, it's just not natural, right? But I know when you find the right thing, when you know your audience so well and you care about them so much and you know your offer is that thing that's going to help them move towards the vision, then you can't help but, verbal diarrhea. You can't help but just constantly talk about it. When you feel good about the price, you feel good about the solution, you feel good about your people, and you feel good about the role you're playing in all of that, you just can't help but, put on your boots and start talking about it, turn that microphone on and start blaring, right? And so I really think on top of the affiliates, also, my, incessant nature to promote it has really, really helped. And in the last 3 years, I've been on almost 300 podcasts, I think.
Wow.
And, in each one, hey, check it out. Check it out. So that's really helped. I'm not afraid to be visible and share the offer.
Yeah.
You said, which I agree with, that the product just rocks. You got to have that. And I'm curious how you did that. Given the nature of the product, it's kind of dancing, right? It's evolving. Every week is a new micro product in a way, right? Talk about how the heck did you create such an awesome product and learn the market and see that gap?
Yeah, I think 2 things. Number one, I was my customer. I used to be a business to consumer blogger, and I would write a weekly newsletter. So if you don't know, the membership is just a weekly newsletter template. So every week I'd write a weekly newsletter trying to connect with my audience. And after a few years, I got so good at it that I was able to convert 100% of my wait list into my first digital course. I don't know anyone else who has done that before. Even some people choose Pepsi over Coke, so it's not always 100%, right? There are some of those weirdos that like RC Cola as well, but anyway, number one, I was my customer. So I really understood that feeling of I got to write another email. I know they say I should, but gosh, I've got a million other things to do. And I know what it took to actually get very good at it. And now I can't remember number 2 because I was so busy bragging about myself. Number 2 is another braggable moment here. Simple is my superpower. I'm just very good at, I don't know where it came from, just breaking things down, just really simple. I'm a big visionary, but I also understand, you got to lay one brick at a time. You got to live one day at a time. You're never going to get there, if you don't start today. And so really knowing that customer, being that customer, and knowing like, hey, you're not going to get to this amazing funnel. You're not going to get to that 6-figure launch. You're not going to get to 6 figures if you don't just start connecting with your audience right now. And let me just write it for you. Let me keep it as simple as possible for you. I believe the last time I was on the show, the membership was in a Google Drive. So it was literally, it literally was just a link every single week. Hey, here's the thing. And it was just, how can I reduce the friction of something that seems almost impossible for people? I even to this day, Liz, email's the bane of my existence. I hate email. I don't want to spam people. This and that, email, boo. Right. So how can I reduce the friction to get them to just try it, for 1 month and see what happens? Usually after 1 month, oh, wow, that wasn't as hard as I thought, Liz. Let me keep going. So I think, on top of knowing my customer, knowing how to reduce this friction, AKA keep it as simple as possible for my people to just do, I think has really contributed to the success of the product.
I wonder, Liz, you've been doing this for a while. And before you were doing this, you were actually using an email list for your business in a different way, like you said, direct to consumer in the way that you were. How do you feel, if any way, that the world of email marketing has changed or shifted from when you started to now?
Ooh, this is a great question. I think it's gotten pretty noisy and it's gotten very story driven. I think every email marketer out there and marketer really, tell stories. Stories connect. It's like, okay, yeah, but I didn't join your email list to learn about your life. I joined it to learn about XYZ. Like, sure, I want to get to know you. We do live in a world where we want to buy from people. I'm pretty sure even Amazon had like a loss in a quarter last year. So we do want to buy from people. And so we can connect with them, but we don't need all of this noise. We don't need all of these, stories about our childhood and, our kid being rushed to I don't know. Like, I can't even with some of these stories, right? It's like
they feel forced a lot of the time.
Right. And so I think for 2024 and beyond, it's actually, I'm kind of looking at it as like a boomerang effect that I think people are going to respond more to just simple connection. Again, simple connections, getting to the point. People that can, I always say, people that can get in, get to the point, and get out of there. People want to be respected in their inbox, and we need to do that. And I think there's been, to Bill's question, a lack of respect. Like, it is marketing, right? And yes, I want you to market. I want you to sell your thing via email. That's literally my whole, when I turn on my computer, that's all I care about is how can you email market? But there's got to be a level of respect of, yes, we don't spam. We don't, be vulnerable in ways that we don't need to be vulnerable to our customers. Like, I don't know if you guys are watching the video, but Bill and Miles were like, yeah, that makes, I know what she's talking about. And so that's kind of where I see things going. I feel like there's just this kind of backlash of like, just tell me what you want. I'll decide for myself if I want to buy. I'll decide for myself if I need this right now. And that's kind of where I'm going with my teachings. I launched a course called Launch Course. Liz Wilcox's Launch Course is the name of it last year. And a lot of it was, I know we always talk about features versus benefits and how benefits are better. But at the end of the day, we also need to talk about how the features benefit.
Right.
We need to talk about like, raise your hand if you've ever bought a program or a product and you weren't exactly sure what it would do or what it was. But you thought, oh yeah, they said it's going to help me. It's going to get me to X. But this was a private podcast. I didn't even know that. I thought it was a live workshop. Like,
Yeah.
like we have to also share the features,
Yeah.
right? As the Super Bowl commercials and, just tell stories. It's also showing the bottle of Coke. It's saying, enjoy, things like that, right? Like it shows its feature. It shows you the bubblies, right? I drink Coke. Can you guys tell I quit soda 4 months ago?
I was going to say,
drink.
all your stories, all your analogies are sodas.
Listen,
and we're in the cola phase. I've been wondering if you're going to bring up Mellow Yellow or like, I don't know what's happening.
I love the carbonation, but they show in the commercials, they show the carbonation, right? That's a feature of the product. Yeah. In our emails, I'm seeing results of the simpler you can keep your email. Of course, yes, benefits, stories, those work, but we also need to actually tell our people what this is and be explicit and direct. And I see that's where the sales are coming in my business, in my students' business. Oh, Liz, I told them, here's what you need to know. Here's who should buy. Here's who shouldn't buy.
Right.
Here's how it's going to go down. Wow, that email made 100 sales. My first sale came from an email like that. It's like, imagine that, just being clear and direct and respecting your person's time and their intelligence. Oh, wow. Who would have thought? Oh, yeah, me. Join my membership. Right? Like, bada bing, bada boom.
Get in,
get
out.
I love what you said about features. That's super cool. And the soda analogy made me think, actually, years ago, I worked on a soda commercial. I'm not going to say for who, but they wanted the sound of the can opening. Right?
There you go.
So we actually had to use beer cans because the soda cans didn't sound good enough, so that it really pop on the commercial. So we got beer cans and opened those. And that's actually what you heard in the commercial.
Yeah. I mean, people want to know both, right? Of course, benefits, yeah, but they need both. They need an immersive experience to make a qualified decision. I feel.
I
totally get it.
This conversation so much, Liz, because you just have this ability to kind of cut through the BS. There's all these is tropes the right word? There's these.
Go with it.
Yeah. Sacred cows. I'm just going to throw random phrases that I've heard out at the wall and see what sticks. But these things that like stories where they're beaten to a pulp. And I've always kind of thought about that. I'm like, all right, this is going maybe too far with the story thing. And everyone's just trying to tell a story. Wait, I think we forgot the point. Maybe just go back to the freaking basics, like what you're saying, and just tell them what the hell this email is about. I get way too many emails. I don't need to read your story, but I feel this almost need, if I signed up to this amazing newsletter or whatever, to read your story. And then it kind of weighs on me. All these stories I have to read just to get to some point that's maybe hidden in there somewhere. And then I'm just left overwhelmed.
Yeah. Well, let's take a note from Reddit, where I think Reddit probably invented the too long didn't read summation, right? Because somebody will be telling their story am I the a-hole? And they give this big, long story. And then, TLDR, I shoved my sister out the front door. She's pregnant. Am I the a-hole? Right. And then you're like, oh, wait, let me read that story. Right. But sometimes just, TLDR it, show your customer hey, this is the point of the email today.
Yeah.
Boom. Yeah. Then I can decide if it's worthy.
It's funny, Miles, you said something about, and Liz, you mentioned, the whole story thing, that's what's in right now. And if you look at internet digital marketing, this is what happens, right? Somebody does something and it works. And then they start saying, this is what works. And by the time most people are doing it, it's over. It doesn't actually work
Right.
very well anymore, and nobody wants it. And this is what happens all the time. And so this isn't the only business. The music business does this all the time. Oh, that guy was a hit. We need 4 more just like that,
Right.
and it just gets diluted and stupid until the next thing happens.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that. Like I saw it in 2023, especially, so I took the summer off, and when I came back, I saw everyone and their mother had a $9 a month membership. And I did a live Q&A with mine. And people, oh, Liz, how are you making this much money? How did you find these people? I said, well, I put in work, darling. I've been on podcasts. I'm connecting. And also I had the patience. I figured in 2 years, hopefully I'll have 1,000 people. And I just had to tell people, this low ticket thing is not for everyone. If the idea of having to spend the majority of your time networking and talking about your product, if that sounds cringe, then you definitely should go more higher ticket. If you like the idea of like one-on-one connection, working with someone long term, digging into their business, you should do high ticket. Like really evaluate, like what Bill's saying, don't just follow the herd because everyone's doing it. Really, I always invite people to think critically, like, is this, if I want the success of, a Liz Wilcox, am I willing to do what she does on the internet to make it happen? That's what I did. I saw the success of other copywriters and, oh, I'm making this and that. And I said, well, I don't really want to build a course. That sounds like a lot of work. And the idea of asking somebody for $1,000, like, I don't know. Like maybe that's a self-worth thing. That's what a coach would tell me. Well, you just need to work on yourself. But I don't know anyone that loves Liz more than Liz does. So I don't think that's the answer. I mean, y'all have been listening to this conversation. But yeah, you really just have to think about, yeah, it might be working in the moment for the majority of people, but is it going to work for me?
I love what you just pointed out around, you say, well, I don't want to, I'm not comfortable charging $1,000 for this thing. Right. And then somebody comes along and says, well, why not? As a matter of fact, Miles and I have talked about this before. When we first met, I had done this. I don't know what possessed me, but I did that thing you just mentioned where there was this course and they said, here's the benefits. It'll help you. Right. And I got into it and I'm like, this is not helping me. And it cost a lot of money. So I got out. But I remember one of the guys at the very front of that course, he asked me how much money I wanted to make. And I told him. And he said, is that it? Yeah. And so this is funny that this has come up because this morning, so I connected with a couple of people that were involved with that particular digital marketing agency on Facebook, and I forgot all about it. And one of them has started direct messaging me. And I know he doesn't care enough about my life to actually listen to this podcast, so he probably won't hear this, and I won't say his name.
I'll send it.
Yeah, it's all good. But he sends me a direct message, hey, Bill, how you doing? Right, and I didn't answer him. He follows up again after the first year. Hey, did you get my other message? Just wondering how things are going. All right, I'll answer him. Things are going great. How about you? He asks how my business is doing. I say it's doing really great. And the next thing he sends me is, have you cracked the 8-figure line yet? And I'm like, dude, I don't even know what to say. Everything that I can think to say, I'm going to sound like a total asshole. So I'm like, I'm just not even going to answer him because why did you even ask me that question? Like you don't know what I do. You don't give a shit what I do. You just want to hook me with this 8-figure nonsense. And what if I tell you, you know what? I don't really want to build my coaching business to 8 figures. That doesn't actually even sound fun to me. That's not a goal.
Yeah.
That is
yeah.
pretty insane.
People in the Facebook DMs, etc., are wild. And it's always like the most outrageous thing, like 8 figures. And not that, no one listening or any one of us, can't make 8 figures. I truly believe I will probably in the next 5 years. But that's something I want. And I have my reasons for it.
Exactly. And if I was sitting here, I mean, I know what my next financial goals are, and I'm looking at those, right? I don't need somebody to talk me into a different one.
Right. And I'm definitely not going to make 8 figures by some rando in a Facebook message. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
No, I'm not.
That's getting, paid hourly or paid by the DM or whatever. Just side note, I've gotten a few of those in the last year. It's always some dude from like Croatia or something, working for like an automation AI thing or whatever. And one day they said, "Oh, are you looking to scale your coaching business?" I don't even coach. You can't, as of right now, can't get on the phone with me. I hope to one day bring those back because I love talking to people, but I'm just too busy right now. And I said, "Oh, I'm not a coach." And then he had some other thing for me. And, "Oh, are you looking to scale?" I said, "Please do your research. My website is directly on my bio. You can clearly tell I'm already scaled. Thank you."
Yeah.
Then I had some other guy that said something, and I said, "Please do not solicit me in my DMs. I don't know who is teaching you this, but it's a terrible strategy. If you really want to learn how to make money, join my membership."
I love that.
That's awesome.
The guy was like, "Thank you for your time. I'll check it out." I'm like, oh my God.
Hell, he may have joined. You don't even know.
Fingers. We can only pray and hope.
Yeah. It's funny that it came up because that just came in this morning. And it's that kind of, it's just such a turnoff. I'm like, oh my God, totally. Dude. Really? Can you think of a different question, please?
It's like, just go sell Mary Kay, okay? You get a better return rate, I think.
Yeah.
So let's, what do you guys think is the opposite of that? Something that is real, that works? Because obviously, marketing's hard. You got on 300 podcasts in the past 3 years. You have this list that you've grown over the years, but you didn't use, you got started at one point. And I think we probably talked about that on the first episode, but what do you guys think is like the first thing that comes to mind that is the opposite of being that annoying, cringy DM salesperson?
Bill?
I don't mind if somebody DMs me. I really don't. That's fine. But I'm sort of seeing this with, I've been a little more active, and so is Miles, on LinkedIn lately. And I've connected with some people, had some interesting conversations. And this is going to sound so, textbook, what everybody talks about. But it really is just about connecting with people and learning about people. If this guy in the DM had asked me a different question, and maybe at least gave me the impression that he wanted to learn about what I do and where I'm at before he tried to sell me his scale your business to 8 figures bullshit, I probably would have at least followed him down that road for a little bit. You know what I mean? And maybe, actually, this is a great example. I actually am in a marketing coaching program at the moment.
Yeah.
I got an email from someone that I already know, that I've already worked with, that I already trust. And he had a thing going on. He didn't sell me hard. He just said, I thought of you. Here's this thing I have going on. There was a link to a video. It told me all about it. I looked at it and I went, this feels really good. Let me get on the phone with him. Right? But there was already a connection there. If that had just shown up and I didn't know who that guy was, I would have in my Gmail said report spam and thrown it out. And that would have been that, right? The only reason I looked at it is I have a connection to it. And quite frankly, the information, he's not going to tell me any new information. Come on. Marketing and sales, we all know the stuff, right? All three of us could spit it out in our sleep. It's the way he thinks differently than me, so it's going to hit me different than it has before. I have a level of trust already with him. I've watched what he's done in his business with a lot of integrity, you know, and I feel like if I need support, he's actually going to be there to support me. So it clicked all the buttons. But those are the things I need if I'm going to sign up for somebody's program. And and Liz, it's one of the cool things about what you do, I think, because you, first of all, you already said it. The information that you share is rock solid. It works. You know it works. It doesn't just work for you. It works for everybody. And you're there. You know, like you said, I mean, you got held up trying to answer a question, but when people ask you questions, you're there. You answer them. If somebody really needs something that the information you're giving them doesn't provide, you know, they can find an answer. And that's huge.
Yeah. I love what Bill said, because this is like perfect case study for what my answer was. So, because I have this way of simplifying. What Bill just said is this: you just have to do three things to market really well and to make that connection Bill is talking about. Number one, show that you are invested in your customer, right? Sending that email out. Hey, I saw this and thought of you. No joke. Yesterday, I just wrote a new template and the subject line is saw this and thought of you. So super funny. So just show that you are invested. And this can be really simple things like we were just saying, like, hey, I'm thinking of you. Here it is. It can be, hey, I just brought a new microphone so that my podcast is going to sound better. I got a new camera. I joined this, mastermind. I'm traveling to this conference to learn about XYZ, right? There are so many ways we invest in our customer every single day before they even buy from us, right? I turned on the computer today to work. I'm invested in you, right? Just again, being kind of explicit and saying like, hey, I care about this for you and here's what I'm doing about it, right? So show that you are invested in your customer. Number two, share in a relatable way. And this is where I think we lean so far to the left in storytelling, right? Because storytelling relates. Like, oh, you share in a relatable way? I need to tell a story. No, you just have to be relatable and share little points in your life, little personal updates versus story. Hey, I recorded a podcast today to teach you about XYZ. I kept having to hit pause because my dog was barking. That's the relatable part. You didn't have to go in this big long story about how you got your dog and now you're sitting here wondering why you did because you're trying to podcast and then you remember, whatever, right? You can just say, oh, he was barking. It took me longer than expected, right? That's, oh, I have a dog too. Or that's exactly why I don't have dogs, Bill, right? Like that's just the relatability point. So invest, show you're relatable. And number three, stay top of mind. You can't be like that guy in Bill's DMs. I haven't heard from him in 6 months. And now he's asking me about 8-figure nonsense. No, that person didn't stay top of mind, right? It was very clear he wasn't invested and didn't care about relating. But this other person in the email, and I like that he said, this guy emailed me, shout out to the inbox, staying top of mind. Make sure like, oh, if Bill would have gotten another email that day, maybe it was the right time for him to join a group. If he would have gotten another email from another friend, maybe he would have joined that group, right? So we have to stay top of mind. And spoiler alert, little secret here. When you do the first two things really well, when you show just how invested you are in your customer, when you become incredibly relatable to them, staying top of mind actually becomes really simple. Like I mentioned, I took 90 days off of work. Do you think anybody forgot about me? Absolutely not. Because I knew, or because my people knew how invested I was in them. They could relate to me. And so even though I wasn't there, when email came to their mind, so did Liz Wilcox.
Beautiful. Man, I mean, yeah. The last one is really, well, they're all really interesting to me. Can I share this? Do you remember this?
Oh yeah.
So I think this is just a
Miles,
little.
for those people who aren't watching the
Yeah,
video, what did
I'm
you
gonna
just
read
hold
it.
up to the camera?
I'm gonna read it. I just think that this is one example of why Liz is who Liz is, and you're so successful, is because of stuff like this. I mean, I got this in the mail. It's The War of Art. Randomly, I got it in the mail randomly, like, I don't know, a year and a half ago now. I don't even know when. And it was because I mentioned it at one point to you. Maybe it was on the podcast. I don't remember. But I got it in the mail, and I got this card in it that was a nice little message, BOFF, which I think is best online
friend forever.
And it says, thanks for being one of my first supporters. And I don't know, this is just like a little thing. Probably didn't take much effort from you. I'm not saying everyone needs to send everyone books that they hear they like, but I don't know, you went out of your way and showed that you care. And you will always, I mean, this has been sitting on my bookshelf. You're in my mind. You're at the top of, if I have a question about email or want to send someone to a resource around anything newsletter, email marketing related, like, you are absolutely the main first person I send them to. Even if I just see your name in my inbox, but I don't open every email, or I skim, but I don't read every word of your email, like, you are floating around. And I think that's something that people forget. They're like, oh, I don't have a big email list. I don't have a big open rate. My stories aren't resonant, whatever it is. You're still doing something. There's a ripple out effect to the practice of actually shipping work consistently and putting stuff out there.
Yeah, I'll just say a quick thing about that. So, Miles read that little note, thanks for being one of my first supporters or whatever. Like, Miles really was, I think, first 100 subscribers of mine.
I'm proud of that.
And I remember he wrote a blog post and featured me, and that meant a lot to me. That felt like what Bill was talking about, a real connection. And what Miles just talked about, like, being consistent, staying top of mind. Like, I could have just, oh, that's cool, but I only have 100 of people like Miles. I guess this thing isn't working and I should try something else. Mm-hmm. But being, not just consistent with your people, but consistent in your practice, right? Talking of marketing, we're talking about what is marketing, what is good marketing. It's saying the same thing 100 times, not saying 100 different things. I'm still talking about the same things I was, when Miles joined the email list. Yeah. And so, but it's really goes to show, like, there's one Miles in the first 100, there's a Miles number 2 in the second 100, et cetera, right? And now I have a list full of people, that support me. And that's where the true revenue comes in. That's where, how much money do you want to make? Like, you can answer it and actually, have it come in fruition. And side note, Miles did not mention that is a signed copy. In case you didn't know, that is signed.
Yeah,
or it should be
I knew
by
that.
Stephen Pressfield himself.
Yeah, you're right. This is valuable.
It is. I don't know how valuable, but at least $10.
Yeah, it's a big deal, and it shows that you care. And honestly, not to get all, emotional about it, but especially in this online space, I mean, it's nice to know that people give a crap. It's nice to know that somebody actually cares. Right. Because that's hard to discern when you're not in a room with somebody. It just is. So finding ways to communicate that is a big deal. And it's interesting, Liz. I mean, Miles has a habit of always booking guests that are, or often booking guests that are in the marketing space or digital marketing space or what have you. And you were one of our first. And I'm not always excited about that because I have a little too much experience in the past with bro dudes like this guy who sent me the 8-figure DM. Let's just keep trashing him while we're here. And then when I meet someone, and I've met a lot now, who like you, who you know the tactics, you know how things work, you're able to talk about it, you're able to help people with it, but at the underneath it all, you actually care about people and care about the people that you're helping, and you're able to communicate that, and that's huge.
Thank you so much. I really do. I just hired a copywriter to rewrite my website. And she said, "What makes you different than everyone else, Liz?" I said, "I give a shit. I actually give a shit. Like, obviously, I need to make money. I love making money. I've got a great relationship. Like, money and I are in love. But, like, I love my people, too. I love them so much. I believe in their success just as I believe in my own." And, yeah, I think that if we're going to talk about marketing to kind of bring it full circle, like, that's an element that you can put in that can't be replicated by anybody else.
Okay, mic drop moment. Liz Wilcox, I'm so glad you came back to talk to us. We don't have to wait 2 years to get you back, do we?
No. Anytime, darling.
You know what I really want to find out? I actually right now I'm going to get Miles. I want you back next January because I want to talk about how you hit 10,000 on your list in 2024.
Okay. Now I'm hyped. Let's do it.
And your gut health and mental health is just thriving.
Yes, I will be thriving. Thank you guys so much for having me. This has been amazing. I can't wait to see what everybody does out there on these internet streets.
You made me want to go write an email.
Yep.
Yes.
Thanks, Liz.
That wraps another episode of The Subtle Art of Not Yelling, your home for creative growth.
If our words have resonated with you, subscribe, share, and leave us a review. It means a lot and helps us reach more creative entrepreneurs.
Join us next week as we continue to explore the art of quietly becoming a creative superpower and thriving without yelling.
Until then, keep nurturing your ideas, honing your craft, and shipping your work.
Because amazing things happen on the other side of finished.